Hello, hello, hello! You get glitter stitches and I get glitter stitches and our projects get glitter stitches. I'm the Knitting Fairy Godmother and today we're going to talk about our book. The book is Mindful Thoughts for Makers, Connecting Head, Hearts, and Hands by Ellie Beck. The topic we're going to talk about today is creating time. So if you want to go get your project and knit along while I talk about this chapter, that's great. While you're getting your project, I would like to invite you to join the knit letter where I send one email a week about knitting. And that's pretty much everything that I talk about. So we would love it if you could join the club. Okay, creating time. For me, this is a difficult topic, and I wish that I had pearls of wisdom and tools to throw at it, but time is such a personal experience, and time changes depending on the season of life that you're currently in. And so because of that, there's no one size fits all answer, which doesn't feel very satisfying to say out loud. Having said that, it's a little liberating because if there are no rules, you can do whatever works for you. And you can experiment with different things that work and see what happens. Some things that have helped me are a daily routine. So that has helped give my life a sense of regularity and a sense of pacing when some of the other structures, like going to work or leaving the house to go to, a scheduled appointment or a meeting, those structures have been removed because we're all social distancing for our health, which are good activities. I support the social distancing, but the loss of that structure of the time and space is something that I certainly struggled with during the pandemic. And so going forward, sort of from this point forward, I'm trying to evaluate how to add some structures for myself to get a little bit of that structured routine back. And so part of how I do that is that I knit every morning. I have one specific project that I do in the quiet, and that sets the tone for the day and helps me to, when I do my knitting practice in the morning, then it sets the tone for my day because I've known I've taken that 10 minutes to level set and I've put myself first. And in a lot of ways, this falls into the mindset of putting your oxygen mask on first before you help others. And that has been something that has helped me ground. Knitting in the quiet has helped me become aware, because when all of the distractions of sound and other people and my phone, the phones were built to distract. So I know that I need to leave my phone outside of the room when I have my creating knitting time, the space for creation. And that's something that helps me. Now, I didn't arrive at that routine overnight. There was a lot of trial and error. And so that's where I would encourage you or ask for you to try and see that if you have the intention to take some space, take some time to do something like a creative process or a creative endeavor, that you have the ultimate control over how you spend your time, and you get to make the choices that fit your lifestyle the best. Something else that I'm thinking of is my knitting is my chosen practice and the vehicle that I use to explore my creativity. But if I had something different, if I had a different craft like woodworking, it might not be practical to take 10 minutes a day to woodwork. And so if I had to go out to the shop and wear safety equipment and get things set up, I might need a larger chunk of time to do those activities. And so at that point, taking a couple times a week for a longer amount of time might better suit what I'm trying to do. So it's nuanced, right? Because there's other things where I have, like, for example, another way that I've created time for myself is by committing to going to monthly meetings with other people who knit. So I know for that amount of time, that 1 hour, 2 hours a month, I'm going to be talking about knitting. And maybe that's your level of commitment right now. A lot of these types of groups are online, so they're much more accessible than when you had to travel to go to a place. And in some ways, that has leveled our playing field, and that might be one way that you can create time for yourself. Something else that I've found helps with my motivation or my inspiration, or if I'm trying to change a habit, to create that space and that time for myself is to think about, like, if I like to read, then I read a book, fiction or nonfiction, in the subject that I'm trying to expand. So when I have felt like I didn't have enough time to knit and I was focusing on reading, I would read books that were subjects around knitting, either fiction that's a story about people who knit, or some authors have a very storytelling way of writing about the subject of knitting. And that was one way that I could create time to learn about or be surrounded and enveloped in this subject that I love without devoting or creating a whole nother routine for me to explore knitting. The last thing I'll talk about, I feel like we've expanded into some time here. We're taking up some space. I'm reading another book about habits, and I'm learning that the more that we can rely on our habits and routines, the better. And so one habit hack, one way to add a new habit to your life is to attach the new habit to an existing habit. So if you wash your face every night before bed, then trying to consciously leave to wash your face 10 minutes earlier than normal, and taking that time to create, to knit, to pursue your intention, and then washing your face. So it tricks the brain. If you say to yourself, I'm going to knit for 10 minutes before I wash my face, then it's a feedback loop where, you know, if you're washing your face, have you done your project, or have you taken your 10 minutes yet? And that's one way to link the activities. And it's some nights when I'm relaxing, a to-do list just isn't practical, even though I really do want to do something else with my time. So adding the new habit to the old habit is one way to work around that. And the last thing, I promise this is the last thing. Maybe not, we'll see. Actually, I had two more thoughts. One thought is that if you don't start pursuing this idea, this creation time and making time for yourself, where will you be in a year? Nothing will have changed, right? You'll be a year older, but you will have not explored what you want to explore, your passion, your creation, your creativity. So in that way, even if you take an hour a month, you're still 12 hours more experienced a year from now than you are today. And there's a momentum that gets built. So just taking that first step and deciding that it's something important, maybe you make an appointment on your calendar and do that. Then we need to celebrate that as a win. And the other piece that comes up for me is especially around things like daily routines, that sometimes that idea becomes a pressure cooker that actually prevents me from doing what I want to do. And the idea of having a daily routine and having to commit to a daily routine and then making myself do the daily routine maybe when I don't feel like it, it's sometimes there's some friction there for me. So something else that one of my teachers has taught me is that I do that thing every day, except the days that I don't. And can I tell you what my mind was blown wide open. And the more that I use that tool, the gentler I can be with myself. And then if I miss a day, it's not something that I have to beat myself up over. It's something I can easily just try again tomorrow. And having that pressure taken away, I do my daily routine every day, except the days that I don't. So that's my take on Creating Time from Mindful Thoughts for Makers, Connecting Head, Hearts, and Hands by Ellie Beck. And I hope to see you next week.